Hey, deserving listeners, Jorge and Anfisa. Let's go back and watch and see what happened.
It seems that these volatile arguments have been a part of the relationship from the very beginning. Would you both say?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say from the very beginning, but
When she
since I got
landed here.
Yeah.
So do you think it started at a particular point?
Yeah. Actually, she was really nice until I bought her a pair of
I love you, Dave.
Pardon me?
She was a different
Okay, so they're saying that they didn't fight until she arrived in the States, and he's saying that she was nice to him until he bought her plastic surgery for her chest. I don't know what's going to get me flagged on YouTube. And so that's what he is claiming. I would imagine that, and that certainly is in the narrative that everyone has, or not everyone, but many people do, that she's just a gold digger, and so she's just being nice to manipulate him to pay for things. But I would imagine that it just coincides with that time, that her triggering or her investment in the relationship or their mutual triggering occurred after she arrived and after there was some time for that to happen, is my guess.
person.
How did she change?
Because she was nice as a person. Like, I was taking care of her and everything was cool, and then she got a pair of and like even the money wouldn't change her attitude.
So we're hearing that language that I have been hypothesizing. It's like, well, I've been taking care. And I don't know if I showed the clip, but he was saying that he wants to take care of her, or he wants that style of relationship, but he doesn't want to take care of her as much as she wants to be taken care of, or something like that. So that is in line with the hypothesis, not only of toxic masculinity or traditional masculinity, but also him. Not all traditional masculine things are toxic, by the way. I don't want to equate those two things, but what I think he also might be referring to is he believes that, well, maybe he also just frames relationships this way because it was modeled to him this way, or something that his role is to take care of someone else. I mean, that does fit with my very loose hypothesis as to what it was like when growing up as a people pleaser, as a mediator or something. Anyway. But also that defensive reaction to being dumped or having difficult relationships in the past. That's like, well, maybe if I find someone that needs me financially, think of Ed and Rose, that kind of thing, then maybe that will be a model for us to be closer and have more security and have more lasting, be more longer lasting. And so he basically used that phrasing right there.
Okay, Anfisa, obviously this is surprising that he would say something like this. I mean,
I
but
think that's very low.
Are you seeing a different side to George now?
I think he's mad at me right now.
I still want to know how you know she cheated.
I had already seen a text in her phone. Like, she didn't know I had her password.
Oh my gosh, what a creepy relationship.
And while she would be asleep or something, I'd go on her phone and I'd go through all of her texts.
Okay, so we're learning now where he is basing that assumption on, that he was going through her phone. And it sounds like she didn't know that he was doing that. And of course, it's not okay to invade someone's privacy. I understand the impulse for sure if you're worried about things, but it's not moral, it's not ethical.
And I seen this thread. It was just like flirty text.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who he's talking about? Who you were?
No.
Don't act stupid.
You're like how do you say it? You're like a dirty laundry to put it out there.
So, Anfisa, you're saying this did not happen?
No.
And you have no idea who he's talking about. Did you go out with anybody?
No.
Didn't go out?
Lying.
So she said something earlier, in that middle bit where she's like something about dirty laundry. I don't know if this is what she's saying, but she could have been saying, hey, buddy, we don't want to air our dirty laundry. So if I was just to take a guess, this is total speculation, that prior to them coming on the show, they had a conversation, which would be natural that people would do this, like, okay, what are we going to talk about? What kind of stuff are we going to unearth here? Let's come to an agreement. And he might have introduced the phrase airing of one's dirty laundry. He might have said something like, I don't know, it's just a guess, because that doesn't sound like a phrasing that she would use. And in this moment, she is not wanting to go there because she doesn't want to air the dirty laundry. And so she's reminding him of that. Let's rewind.
Act stupid.
You like her, how do you say it? You like her dirty laundry, to put it out there?
So, Anfisa, you're saying this did not happen?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm reading into it, but that's one possibility. Of course, I don't know. Of course, there are other possibilities.
And you have no idea who he's talking about. Did you go out with anybody?
No.
Didn't go out?
Lying. She's lying to you.
Do you have to make up all these stories?
Make up
Cheating,
what
all
story?
this.
Now, you would think that he would have more data. He's saying that he saw her flirting with someone over text, but he's saying that she actually met up with someone. And you would think in this conversation, he would reveal, I saw on the texts that they had met up or they were planning to or something like that. And he's not saying that, or they didn't include it, or he doesn't remember. I don't know. But is he just basing this opinion and this assumption on what he believes to be flirting between him and her and someone else? I don't know.
Breaking
Make
up
up
everything.
what story? Make
All
up
the
what
stories.
story? Make up what story? You want me to give the text to the producers right now? You want to look really stupid?
Yeah, I want to look really stupid.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know. It just sounds like there's something there, right? It sounds, now he's being verbally abusive or calling names, which isn't cool, of course. There's other ways to express yourself in that moment.
You're obviously in a different state of mind. What's going on here?
Ask her what she does for a living.
What do you do
What
for a
do I
living?
do for a living?
Tell her. Why are you
Nothing.
scared?
Don't do anything.
She's saying nothing. You're saying what?
I want it to come from her.
Nothing.
She's lying to you.
Did you?
I suspect that it has to do with OnlyFans or something like that. I don't know. That's my guess. And if true, there's nothing wrong with that, but there would be something really hurtful to your partner if you did it without their knowledge and without having a conversation about it. So is that what's happening?
Want to intentionally embarrass her?
I mean, my intention is not to embarrass her.
He's lying. You can't listen to it anymore.
Oh, did you walk away? Oh. Shocker. Oh, yeah. No one saw that coming.
Now, I don't know. There's only speculations upon speculations at this point. Is it true? Could be. Could he be making it up? Could he be distorting something? Is he referring to what she was doing before they were in a relationship? I don't know.
Now, George, it seems as though you mentioned what Anfisa does for a living to make a point. Like, what's the point?
I don't want to say.
What profession?
I don't want to say. I don't
Why
want to
not?
say. What would you guess? If you looked at her on the street, what would you guess she does?
She could be anything. She could be.
Right, that's the right response. Like, what do you mean? She could be anything. She could be an attorney. She could be a professional athlete. What do you mean? Like that attitude. And I think that's the world that he lives in. I think he believes that what he just said is self-evident.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual. Navigating all the various challenges we face can make you feel unsure or stuck in place. Whether it's a relationship, or going through grief, or considering a new career. And, generally speaking, a therapist can really help with that. By helping you to explore your feelings, and by giving you the space to clarify what you want to do. In my life, I can't imagine where I'd be without the therapy I've had. During some of the biggest moments of my life, therapists have been there for me. To slow me down, to listen to me, to help me explore. Well, that's where BetterHelp comes in. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Kirk. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
A teacher. She could be a
Not
banker.
even
She
close.
could be. Why won't you say, though? If you've admitted that
Because,
you've already given her money for breast augmentation.
So I think he doesn't want to air the dirty laundry, but is doing it kind of. He is implying things. And so I think he's conflicted. I think he wants to air everything and wants to out her, but also is worried about her, retribution, or doesn't want to fully upset her. Or, I don't know.
Augmentation.
No, come on, George, answer the question. Already.
Okay.
Is she an escort?
We want to know that now. If you're not going to say what it is, don't even mention it because we want to know.
Or he could be ashamed. He could feel like it reflects on him. It's humiliating to him or something. I could see that being a factor as well. Or he's just lying and just making stuff up. I don't know.
Can I throw something out there?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Does she dance for a living?
I don't know. Maybe you should ask her.
No, I'm asking you because you're the one that brought it up, George. And I'm surprised that you're reluctant to say.
I'm reluctant to say. Like, it's embarrassing to me.
Right. That's what I was wondering about, that he feels it's embarrassing to him. It's humiliating to him. It makes him look like what do they say on I won't say the word, but you know the word. But he said it basically. Everyone knows what he's implying.
Not only to her. Because I feel like it's degrading.
What she does for a living is degrading?
No. I feel like it's degrading to have a wife that does a certain thing.
Right. He's saying that he feels degraded by it. And so that's why he doesn't want to say it. So maybe he wants people to know, but he has a hard time fully saying it.
For a living.
How did you find out what she does for a living?
Because I didn't believe it when she said it. So I had to see it from my own eyes.
She told you what she did.
Yeah.
You went to her place of employment.
Yep.
And saw her.
Yep.
It's strange that she...
Sean seems to think that she is an exotic dancer, an entertainer at a strip club or something. She said you went to her place of employment, and so he says yes. So, yeah. It's interesting that when I hear those implications, that in today's world, and even on the show, but wait, this was a long time ago. Did OnlyFans even exist back then? So it sounds like what they're agreeing on is that she works at a strip club. Is that what they're saying?
Because she's always tried to dictate what I say. She's always tried to control the situation. And now that she doesn't have control, that's why she's not sitting here. Because if I was lying, she would sit right there, but she can't bear to sit right in front of me, look me right in the eyes, and let me tell you the real story.
Right. So if this is what we would characterize as an abusive relationship, abusive individuals are very often seeking control, right? They believe, for whatever reason, there's various different reasons. The main reason I would find typically is they're trying to find attachment security through control, which isn't healthy, obviously. But they are in a constant treadmill of trying to establish control. And when they get a little bit more control, they have a little relief of, okay, now I can relax, I feel safe, I feel in control, everything's fine. But then the insecurity and the relational traumas start to kick in, and the attitudes of I'm entitled start to kick in, and they need more control. And so this is why abusive relationships are progressive, in that the abusive individual will get worse and worse and worse, and the victim's life will become smaller and smaller and more controlled and more controlled. So what he's saying, and I don't know if it's true, but it's in line with this, is that because she can't have control over this conversation because there are outsiders that are there, and she knows she can't get away with what she can get away with when they're alone, she, leaves the situation because she doesn't have control. She can't tolerate that. And certainly that is the case in abusive relationships. I don't know if that's what's happening here, but this is why abusive individuals want to isolate the victim from outside people. And they will refrain from engaging in abusive behavior typically when other people are around, right? Which can make it very confusing if you are a friend of a victim, because you might see the abusive individual occasionally and they're always really nice and you never see that behavior. And it also flies in the face of a myth, even for the abusive relationships, that the abusive individual is only abusive because they have an anger problem. They need anger management. They have a temper, that kind of thing. But if that were true, then they would fly off the handle in any situation, whether they're being observed or not, typically. If you truly have no control over your anger and no control over your behavior when you get angry, then typically you'll get triggered in a variety of situations and be out of control in a variety of situations. You know, there's nuances to that, of course. If you do have a legit anger problem, sometimes when you have a crowd around you will put extra control over yourself. But the point is that with abusive relationships, that's not how we frame it. We don't frame it as an anger problem. We frame it as the way that I frame it is that typically for the vast majority of perpetrators that I've treated, they have relational traumas that they are unaware of and or they don't know how to deal with, and they're trying to establish attachment security. And the way that they do it is what they learned when they were growing up. Some model showed them that this is how you deal with your attachments when they are upsetting you or something, through control, verbal, emotional, financial, physical, sexual, this kind of thing. And you also might have absorbed ideas from society about certain things that make things okay. So you have the massive attachment reactivity and distortions thereof, and an attitude of entitlement of this is okay to do to someone when you're upset. And that's not an anger problem. They get angry, but it's not, that's a product of the problems that I'm talking about. The anger is a product of the way that they see the world, the way that they process their emotions, and their way of dealing with their anger is what they were modeled and what they've learned from society or their family or their neighborhood or something.
Why'd you walk away?
I walked away because George is not being honest. I don't want to just sit and listen to some bull that he says.
All right, so that's possible as well, that what she's saying there is true, that she's like, look, he's lying and I don't want to just sit there and endure it. Maybe she thinks she doesn't have the ability, given that English is a second language for her, that she has the ability to spar with him in front of the cameras.
I'm confused. I didn't expect that he would say things like he did. I think he still loves me because he wouldn't say things like that if he didn't care and if he didn't love me.
All right, let's end it there. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.